The Raptors secure a huge postseason clinching win over the Atlanta Hawks. 118-108 is the final from Scotiabank Arena inside the Scotia Club. I'm Randy Urban, and this is Raptors Night Cap. Tonight we're joined by Sherman Hamilton, Jack Armstrong, and Paul Jones. Sure, that was a crazy fourth quarter. What stood out to you?
Again, the Raptors' resiliency, their toughness. You know, there was a stretch where they couldn't score, and then, you know, the ability to make plays. There's just so much that this team displays in those tough moments that reminds you why they clinched that sixth spot, why they stayed out of the play-in, and how they approach situations. It's about take care of business. Take control of what you can and let the chips fall where they may after that. So it was just another example. They're just a gritty, grindy team with no quit, and Pascal Siakam was off the chain again. They had no answer for Pascal.
Can I make one point?
Yeah,
The four of us sat here on Sunday night, and the ghost of Kyle Lowry is in this building because
he's on that team.
He's, you know, like that's like Fred VanVleet couldn't shoot the ball any worse, but when he
counted.
But when he made the,
right.
you know, like that's Kyle Lowry. I mean, you know, they're in their playoffs 8 of the last 9 years, and a lot of that soul and spirit is in this team.
You got to shoot, even though you're 1 for 11 from 3.
Hey,
you know,
law of averages. You're due to make some, right?
Yeah.
And to both their points, I always think of the great Larry Bird, who was one of the all-time greats, and he said he regularly passed the ball to Dennis Johnson in the fourth quarter. And somebody said, well, why, Larry? He said, because he never made the shots until it was important.
Yeah.
Like he would be like 0 for 8, and Larry goes, well, it's fourth quarter time, he's 0 for 8, it's important, give him the ball. And Fred tonight, and you know, as both Sherman and Jack have said, the resiliency, the Raptors' attitude of, okay, this thing is not over. Like there's a long way to go. We're going to keep at this and keep one foot in front of the other, just steady rocking, and we'll see what happens at the end. And they went through that long stretch in the fourth quarter where they couldn't score, but they kept playing. They kept playing.
You used a name that was really cool, connecting it to Fred. I remember a few years ago reading a feature story on Fred VanVleet, and his stepdad mentioned that, you know, one of his favorite players all time was Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson, yeah. And that Fred's game was a lot like Dennis Johnson. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, and the same.
I think about it. I do. I mean,
it's like it's surreal. I mean, we're older guys. You and I are older. Sherm's just a kid.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
And but Dennis Johnson was that guy. Dennis Johnson was that guy that, you know, like
he would grind you, right?
Baseball analogy: 0 for 3, 4th at bat, tie game, 9th inning. He'll foul it off 8 times, but the 9th one, he'll hit over the second baseman's head and help you get the winning run, and that's Fred.
Sure, just Jonesy mentioned the drought in the fourth. Not a great time to have a drought, you know, midway through the fourth, but when they needed their defense to step up, they did in a big way.
Well, they did, and they threw a lot of things at Trae Young to try and keep him off balance, and Trae's a very crafty player, and he figured some things out.
Fun to watch.
Was just so creative in how he approached the defenses that they threw at him. But to the point of resiliency and consistency, and there's a strong belief and a conviction in how this team believes they can play to win games. And they never varied from it. They stayed within that mold. And again, it's on both sides of the basketball. They were so active defensively. Nick Nurse earlier went to that big lineup, and they just pounded Atlanta on the glass. Later in the game, he had some size, but I think about the play where Precious Achiuwa is late on that DeAndre Hunter dunk. Forget about blocking the shot. The fact that he got there, made the effort to get there, and put him on the line instead of giving them an emotional, emphatic dunk, that's true to the core of who this team is. And to me, that's the most impressive thing, because no matter what's happening, they don't get into that rogue brand of basketball. They don't try and do it individually. They stay together and believe in what they're good at. And that kind of conviction is something that is really tested in tough moments.
And that's why they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, Sherm. And Randy, we look at the playoffs, and in a playoff series, the first team to lose its personality loses the series. They lose the game, and then they lose the series because they don't, as Sherm said, stick to, hey, this is what we did to get here. This is the girl we danced with getting here. You don't abandon her and go get somebody else because you don't know how that person dances. You stay with your stuff. You stay with your stuff.
It depends how good the other girl that dances, I guess.
I'm working it on the dance floor. Might have to slide over. Just slide. You don't have to run. Just slide.
So you got to be smooth.
But you got to dance the way you dance. You can't start dancing the wrong way.
You can't do the running man when you're a two-step.
No. When the music's slow, you can't. You're on one tile.
You need to do the running
I can,
man.
but not you.
When you're on one tile, you can't be doing running man when the music is slow. My point is,
Yes.
stay with your personality. And as Sherm said, the Raptors rarely stray from their personality, which is what makes them so good.
You know, it's interesting. You said another thing that I really like because I think back years ago when I was coaching, I spoke at a coaches clinic, and Jim Calhoun from UConn spoke at it as well. And I was hanging out chatting with him before we spoke, and he said a really cool thing. He said, when I go watch your team play, whether it be in a practice or a game, I should be able to walk out and say, what are the 3 definable qualities that jump off the page at me? And what you were just saying, Jonesy, like if I had to pick 3 qualities about the Raptors, I think they try to win the turnover margin every night. They pound you on the offensive glass, and they are just a hard-playing defensive team. So to your point, if the Raptors are going to be successful in the playoffs, number one, they got to have a healthy OG Anunoby because they're an elite team when they have them. But if they have them, if they do those 3 things, they can play with and beat any team in the East. But they got to do those 3 things. They can't get cute. They can't get pretty. Yeah, they struggle making free throws. They're 24th in the league. But in order to overcome that, they got to be those 3 things.
Sherm, with this being a playoff clinching win, it's just fitting that Siakam had the game that he had tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, he's been that guy all season since he came off that injury. So it's no surprise that Pascal, has these kind of defining moments. I will say this. I mean, Atlanta refused to defend him with anybody bigger than a guard. And Pascal went old school. He just said, okay, you want to send this guy over here? I'm going to beat his head in until you as a coach make a decision.
Football mentality.
And they finally went with Hunter late.
Exactly.
Cabarrot, he destroyed.
He just beat his head in. And Hunter already got a guy who was lathered up and who was rolling. Well, you're not going to do anything with an NBA player at this level. It's too late.
Yeah,
and I thought that Pascal didn't vary from the game plan. It was, I'm going to punch you in the face until you put your hands up. And by the time they put their hands up, Pascal worked the body and had everybody discombobulated.
Really good point. Really good point. I was surprised, Sherm, that Nate McMillan waited so long to go with that because he was just going to work on Cabarrot. And then a few times he late in the game he rejected a screen because Hunter played as if the screen was going to
attacked him.
And attacked him.
Threw his body into the defender.
And then one time he had I tell you what, he's making so many cool reads in terms of when defenses change looks and they scramble and gamble and all that.
It's got to be the biggest jump in his game is that part, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Nate McMillan probably thought, okay, I'm going to pick my poison. Am I going to try to defend Pascal that way? Or am I going to double him and let them whip it around and have Fred and Gary Trent Jr. and have these guys kill me
But
from
they don't
behind
have
there?
OG tonight, so it's one less shooter.
One less guy, but the ball finds the right people, right?
Good point.
Even though Fred wasn't having a great shooting night, as Sherm said with Pascal, you don't want to let him get going. He got going. He made big plays when it counted, but I just wonder if Nate, just trying to get into his head, does he think, maybe I'll live with Pascal trying to tune me to death and
legit.
I'll try to challenge him and what, but as you said, Sherm, I saw it as a pick your poison. Like, he's giving it to us, and you know what? I got to take this because I'm not sure I like the alternative. And you're going to get beat either way. How do you want it? And Pascal was the guy tonight.
Was there a game-turning stat for you?
A game-turning stat? Well, again, I forgot what the total was, but into the fourth quarter, the Raptors had 22 second-chance points. Yeah. I don't know if it grew after that point, but I just thought their size, their length, their activity on the glass just continued to punish Atlanta. And then, we look at games and we look at the gaudy numbers of Pascal. Chris Boucher was great off the bench.
Yeah.
But then you look at that pocket where Thad Young played, and his size and his ability to get on the glass just eat up the smaller bodies under there and create second chance opportunities. It's pockets like that might not be the end result, but when you put it in the mix and figure out how the Raptors got to the end, that's a part of it.
Separation.
There's
little separation.
It matters.
And you mentioned Thad Young. I love him in the post.
Yeah.
He gets the ball. He threw against Miami the other night, and he threw like 3 tonight, where he throws that quick diagonal pass, and now you're beating the defensive rotation by 2 beats.
Yeah.
He's so smart. He's like, come get me. And then he just picks them apart. He's a great pickup for them.
I thought to Sherm's point about the offensive rebounding, most teams in this analytic world, most teams don't go to the offensive glass.
Oh, they're sending 4.
Oh, they're too busy. Most teams are too busy peeling back to stop transition. And Toronto's like, well, hold on a second. If we miss a shot and we peel back, there's still a chance that we can be bent out of shape in transition. Let's go to the glass.
I don't think they can win if they go back.
Right. Let's go to the glass.
I don't think they can win
against the analytic numbers and get to the offensive glass and take our chances with rebounding and scoring and make them take it out of the net. Then we'll have time. We'll have a little more time to get back and we'll have buckets. I just thought, when you think about last year, their rebounding last year and how poor it was and what kind of a rebounding team they are this year, especially on the offensive glass, it's night and day.
Jonesy, you'll help me with this because you're very good with statistics. Sherman and I are just pretty faces, but is it 16 games in a row now where they got more shots than their opponent?
They are number 2 or 3 in the NBA in most field goals attempted.
So how do you get more shots than your opponent? You got to win turnover margin, and you got to pound the offensive glass. That's their attributes as a team. So to your point, you got to do some things that are against the book. Mm-hmm. And those are things that are against the book.
For me, it's a hit on 16. I learned that from Sherm. Sometimes you got to hit on 16.
You're feeling good. I don't care what the dealer's got. Bang it out on 16.
What a pretty faces. He knows all the numbers. He's smarter than us.
No. I sat beside Sherman and learned how to play. I'm broke now, but I learned how to play.
He's smooth, very smooth.
I make lives better.
150 down the middle.
That's what I do.
Keep it in the fairway.
150 with my driver, you're right.
It's okay, though.
Okay, so the Bulls lost.
Cleveland they did? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
I know the Cavs lost.
Zach LaVine didn't play.
Zach LaVine didn't play.
So help me out.
So they're 5th then, right? They would be in 5th now.
Yep.
Who's 4 now?
Cleveland is still 4, I believe.
No,
Milwaukee's slipped down to 4th.
No, Milwaukee couldn't have slipped to 4.
They were 2.
They were 2.
So this is what it says right here on my Google machine.
Is that a BlackBerry? Is that from the old days?
This is it.
Did you pay the bill?
Yeah.
Is
that from 1978?
Milwaukee 4, Toronto 5.
Well, I do enjoy beer, so I'm okay with Milwaukee. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Jack, what are some of the keys to their success in the first round, to what would be their success in the first round?
Who, Toronto?
Yeah.
I think the 3 things I said.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who they play. I mean, are you going to outshoot Milwaukee? Probably not. You got to turn them over. You got to pound their you-know-what on the offensive glass. You got to play harder, and you got to guard the you-know-what out of them. And then, muck it up and win 102, 101. Yeah. I mean, that's and you hope you make enough free throws. But to say they're going to make 23s a night and do this, that's not. No. You gotta be the harder playing. You got to be a bunch of dudes that just comes out and say, hey, man, all right, you got all the resume, you got the ring, but hey, man, we're coming after you. As Sherm said, I'm going to punch you. You better get your hands up because here we come.
Well, and Nurse has a knack for, scheming against the other teams.
He does. For Embiid, for Giannis. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that scares me about Milwaukee is the Raptors are 3-0 against them this year, and Milwaukee's never beaten them in a playoff series. And like we said earlier, sometimes that roulette ball lands on your square. You just don't want it to be at that time.
And I will say this. Go ahead.
I will say this. To the playoffs, regardless of who they get, if Pascal is playing like that and putting people in foul trouble, the other coach is going to have some decisions to make.
You got to have OG.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, look, he's an elite, switchable defender with strength and size and toughness. He can guard in the post. And the other thing is he can make open shots. He can get on a roll, Sherman, make 3, 4, 5 threes.
Yeah, and if you're talking about a Milwaukee matchup, listen, a lot has happened since the Raptors faced them in the playoffs a while back. This is a championship team now, and they understand how to play when the lights are the brightest. And their best player, in Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's that much better. So you need your full complement to be there because you're going to need as many bodies as you can throw at him that are physical, that are disciplined, and that on the other end don't give him a chance to just relax on defense. But regardless of who they match up against, at the end of the day, the Raptors know who they are and how they win.
Yes.
They can't change that in the playoffs. They've got to be true to that. And I think from what we've seen, the body of work we've seen from these guys, Nick Nurse has no designs of trying to make this team play in a style that they're not used to playing and winning in.
Yeah.
So I expect the same type of principles that got them to this point to even be more emphasized as they get into the playoffs, regardless of who they're playing against.
Stay with it, man.
He's going to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then once he gets within game, I think I can't remember, Sherman Joe, we talked about going with the bigger lineup and pounding him on the offensive glass. I think, Nick does a really good job of in-game adjustments that
He went boxing one on Trae Young tonight. With
Malachi Flynn.
With Malachi Flynn.
And Malachi Flynn did a good job.
Sure did.
Too, yeah.
And then they bottled him up a few times. And, and so I feel confident that if they do those things and OG Anunoby's healthy, hey, let's have some fun.
But it might not be Milwaukee. I mean,
No, it
there's
could
some
be
games to
Philly.
play. Yeah,
It could be
Philly.
Boston.
Could be Boston.
The thing is that stands out to me when I sit here and I look at this, Jonesy. It's like, they're 3 games out of second.
I know.
They got 46 wins.
Can I make another
They're
point?
5.5 out of
To
first.
your point.
Like, that is crazy.
We haven't
for
heard
their
anything from
projections.
Mark Cuban in a while. All right. You look at 7 through 10 in the West compared to 7 through 10 in the East. There's no talk out West anymore about, we should cross the divisions and all that nonsense. I mean, the East is better than the West. There's no doubt about it. As good as Phoenix is, the Raptors should have beat them here, and they beat them there. And that's the team that was in the NBA Finals last year. And they're 3-0 against Milwaukee, and they won it last year. So I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of the play-in. I'm just not a fan of it. Adam Silver wanted it, and he got it because he got enough votes behind the scenes. I don't like it. And if we're going to see New Orleans and San Antonio in a play-in series, I mean, come on, seriously? They have losing records. They don't belong in the playoffs.
My stipulation with the play-in would be you play for 1 spot, not 2. Like Minnesota could get screwed this year.
And they've had a good year.
They've had a good year. The regular season has to mean something.
Yeah.
How can you be 9 games over 500, play a team behind you, have a bad night, and then, what if the Lakers
put a lot of pressure?
Yeah, what if the Lakers make it to 10?
Yeah.
Right? And then now Minnesota has to play the Lakers in 1 game, and it's like 2 losses after busting your hump for 82 games and being 9 games. So I would say let them play for 1 spot, 8, and that's only if 9 and let them play for 1 spot, but play for 8, but 9 and 10 have to be within 3 games of 8. If they're not, and they're like New Orleans and the Lakers, they're eons below 500.
It does keep more teams in the hunt.
It prevents the tank.
Yeah,
It prevents the tank.
It's fan-friendly.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's fan-friendly.
But it's not necessarily, it's not a meritocracy when you think about it, right? And that to me is, like, you play 82 games, we've all been around it. We've seen these guys go through it. It is tough. And when you put the work in for 82 games, that should mean something.
Yes, absolutely.
And I get it. From a fan perspective, it's great. You get a few teams playing harder towards the end of the season. Nobody's really tanking like that. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of the people who took care of the things they're supposed to take care of to put themselves in position.
To your point, you look at baseball, they added the wild card. I mean, of all 4 major sports leagues, who has the most teams in the playoffs, theoretically? We have 20 of 30.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're letting 4 teams that honestly don't belong there, right?
67% of the league gets in the playoffs.
Well, whereas hockey's got 16, football, they increased it, but it's still lesser than ours. And baseball added a little bit, but still, the 162-game season means something. And I don't like their wild card scenario. I'm not a fan of it. I just thought, I was chatting with, hey, look, I'm a nobody. When you chat with Dominique Wilkins and you chat about issues like this and you know.
And other issues.
You know, another issue, but like, I mean, there comes a point where you just look and you say, all right, it just can't be, not everyone gets an A and a trophy for participation. This is a ruthless competitive business, and merit should matter.
You guys want to stop there, or you want to keep going? Like, I feel like this was.
I'm good. We got 3 more, right?
Yeah, we got 3 more.
And then playoffs.
46 wins, trying to go
Playoffs?
to 49.
They're in.
Look, Vegas had this team at 36 and a half.
What are they at, 46 now?
46. And many of our colleagues in the U.S. had dismissing Toronto, had them below the line. Oh, they'll be 12th. You know, hey, talk to me at the end of the race.
Yeah. Somebody asked, what's the best matchup? Do we not? We don't care, right?
I think Philly, myself. I think Philly. I don't know if that's popular consensus.
Well, they're not going to play Miami. I don't like Boston. For whatever reason, I don't know why. There's just something in my gut, Sherm. I don't like Boston. I'm more comfortable playing Philly or Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'd take Philly right now.
Yeah.
They seem to be still trying to figure out James Harden's involvement. So I'd rather.
He's not the same guy,
Yeah,
right,
he's not.
Sherm?
But I'd rather play a team like that. Joel Embiid's a monster, but Nick Nurse has been a mad scientist against him, and has really discombobulated him. And while James Harden could turn into that guy for the Philadelphia 76ers, I'll take my chances with the Raptors facing up against Philadelphia, and putting up a real interesting battle.
And I would say, Sherm, all the stuff that we talked about, because of Toronto knowing who they are, their personality, the way they play, can Philly match that in a 7-game series? 1 night, maybe? 2 nights, maybe? But that's the other thing. Can Philly play that hard for that long?
I will say this.
OG, get healthy.
Yeah,
I'm
if
telling you,
OG's
OG, get healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say this about Philly. Tyrese Maxey's a problem.
Yeah.
He's a wild card.
Yeah.
And if Tobias Harris ever figures out how he fits into this puzzle, he could be an issue as well. But until then, give me Philly. They don't have the depth, I think, that's necessary with the way the Raptors can play. So I like that matchup. If I'm going to pick one, if I have to, I'm going to take Philly.
This is one crazy thing I want to say. The Raptors have actually been a better team on the road this year than they have on the road. So
22 wins at home, 24 on the road.
Yeah, so even though they have to start on the road, they
perfect.
kind of like it.
It'll put the pressure on the home team.
the other team, yeah.
It puts all kind, and we've talked about this. We talked about it with 3 of us. Talked about it with Mike D'Antoni years ago when he was here. And if I have home court advantage, I should be able to set up the series the way I want.
You've said this for a long time.
Without 3 in a row at home. And people say, well, what would you do? I said, I might even think about, if I'm the higher seed, I might even think about giving up Game 7 at home. So play 1 at their place, 2 at my place, 1 more at their place, 2 more at my place. And if I have 4 out of 6 at the higher seed in my building and I haven't knocked them off yet, even getting 1 at their place, then give them Game 7 on the road. Maybe I shouldn't win. And Toronto's going to put, the point is, they're going to put all kinds of pressure on whoever it is they play on the road in the first 2 games. Even if they lose the first one, you know they're coming back for that second one.
And as we know, hard-nosed defense, ability to go get it on the offensive glass,
Travels.
and turnover margin, all travels. Your shot making doesn't sometimes. But those other 3 things, they do travel with you. And you can grind out a win on the road with that stuff. When you live and die with your prettiness and finesse play and shooting the ball, good luck winning on the road in the playoffs.
You got 2 cheeses today for you.
Well,
So,
I know.
you know, when you clinch, you
I
get
had a little
burrata.
burrata. It was very good.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a little more.
Sure, we can get into those wings or what?
Germ's ready to get the wings.
No, I'm not going to hit the wings.
Come on.
You schooled me.
You can hit
No,
the
you
gym.
don't, I don't. I'm not schooling you. Jonesy will have some.
hit the
No,
gym.
I can't. I got blood work in the morning, so
So I had that last week.
I'm on the fast.
What
right?
happened to the show? We're talking about blood work in the morning
we're
now.
done. Yeah,
I
let's
had
wrap it up.
no, I literally had the same thing last week. I couldn't
You look
have
great.
it.
Yeah, you look great in that suit too.
The Wings are calling me too.
I know. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Next game for the Raptors Thursday night
Your job.
at Scotiabank Arena
Jonesy's gonna kill it on the blood test.
against
He
the
is
Philadelphia
fit guy.
He is
out there.
76ers.
Knock it out the
Rockstar.
park.
Tip-off goes at
Grinded.
7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Multiple choice?
Thanks for doing this, guys.
Blood test.